Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Omar Yassin. Did I get your last name right? And it's funny,
Yes,
Omar,
you
I
did.
always say I'm going to practice someone's pronunciation at before the interview. I never do it. So there you go. Thank you so much.
No,
So it's
you,
Omar
you
Yassin.
actually you actually are absolutely right. Better than most people, so I'm glad to
Oh,
hear.
sounds good. So Omar's a student at Arizona. Omar's on the People on Dating podcast to talk about ladies, dating, party, and his hilarious experience in college and much, much more. So Omar, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's been a busy day. Nice morning. How's everything with you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm here in New York City. I'm jealous because you're in Arizona. It's probably 80 degrees already. Here is about 40 and raining. And so, winter has hit us. So
Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
So Omar, tell us, how did you get into college? Why pick Arizona? And most of all, like your experience in the dating market. How did that come about? So talk about your college experience first. Like, why did you pick Arizona?
I mean, I'm an international student, so I lived back home in Egypt, and it's a different environment from definitely from the life in the US. And I always desired to explore the life in the US. So I was planning beforehand, and when I was in high school, that I wanted to really study in the US. Arizona specifically, they just offered me a good scholarship. I like their program. That's nothing really super specific. But in general, my target was to find a college in the US. After that, like really, I feel like the most important thing is being independent. So when
Right.
you're away from your family, it's a challenge. Either you are able to be afraid and crumble in, or you're going to really grow and bloom, blossom like and there's going to be a huge growth in your personality. And this is where I feel like I went through that path.
Yeah.
And throughout that, I really changed my social experiences a lot. Like I was a very nervous child when I coming out of high school, different environment and everything. But coming here, I was like, hey, you need to up your game a little bit, just talking to people in general, not anything specific about like having to date girls, not really, but more of building up the confidence.
Yeah. Gotcha, gotcha. So, first of all, I want to give you credit. Here, you left your homeland of Egypt to come to the United States. I mean, to me, anybody that does that, or I mean, even goes from one state to another, I give them credit to like take that leap of faith, to take like say, hey, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. You already had your goal that you wanted to come to the United States and everything. So, first of all, I applaud you for that, for even taking that risk, leaving your homeland to come to the United States, and I mean definitely that's a great story. So when you got to college and you started meeting people, what was that like? Did you already was speaking English already before you got here?
Oh,
You
yeah,
already
yeah.
knew the language and everything.
Yeah, I think it was very important for me to have a strong background of what to expect. Like I
Yeah.
think at this time, especially at my age, we've all seen American TV shows, American movies, and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So you really are aware of how life is gonna be here.
Okay.
My high school, all throughout high school, I was speaking English, so I didn't have a problem with the language at all. It was more about the, like, how can I say, it's the banter, it's
Yes.
the
Yes. I
jokes,
gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The little quirks and stuff like that. That, yeah, I didn't understand those, but easy, you catch them up over time.
Yeah.
Um, I always feel like you have to try to find a way to fit in with your own personality.
Right.
So not try to change your morals at all, but try to be an open-minded person.
Okay. I
Yeah,
like
and
that.
yeah.
I like that you kept your personality, that you didn't change for anybody and all that. Okay. So you get to college, and you start meeting people. When did you discover that that you did have something to offer? Let's say your friends, and then we'll definitely get to the dating experience. But let's say at least to your friends, to your male friends first, and then to your women friends. Were you accepted right away, or they had to get to know you, and vice versa, you had to get to know them?
I mean, something that I was always, as I said, being open-minded is I find it very important for international students overall to avoid surrounding themselves with people from the same country as they are.
Ah, okay.
You'll never change at all. You'll be sticking doing the same things you used to do back home. But I feel like I took advantage of meeting people from all around the world. Like I have many friends, Colombian friends, Argentinian friends. I have close Egyptian friends as well, but I didn't stick to a close circle from the same people that I grew up with. That's something that I feel that helped out. And
That
I feel like
definitely, yeah.
eventually finding like-minded people is the key. So like-minded people is definitely shares the good qualities between you all. You both wanna grow, you wanna take the challenge, you wanna take the risk, you wanna find out, you wanna try new things, no matter where they're from. That's I feel like that's really the key that helped me out.
Yeah.
So having that person with you, that hey, it doesn't matter how it turns out. Let's say going to this party and you try to get in, you're not even invited and you get rejected at the door. It doesn't matter. Why? At least you tried. At least we can laugh at it on the way back home. That's for instance. That's
Wow. So
something we
you,
could.
so Omar, you had that even if you couldn't get into a bar, whatever, you just laughed it off and
Yeah.
it even about wow. I'm gonna be honest with you, Omar. When I was that young, like you in your 20s, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. If I got rejected, whatever, it took me weeks to to get over it. But that's how I was, you know. And now, as you get older, and you realize, that's on them, not on me. Um, so I want to talk about that before we get into into your dating experience and meeting women and you know, your college experience. How did you know that you had that it didn't bother you that, you know, you could have, you know, you couldn't get into that bar or maybe, you know, some people just rejected you because they didn't get to know you, but it seemed like how come that didn't bother you? What was it that you had that a lot of people don't?
I mean, in my head, it was more of a when you talk to yourself and you try to prepare yourself for a presentation or something, you have
Yeah.
a certain expectation in your head, all right, of
Yeah.
how it should go. And then when you kind of finish it off, are you close to that expectation? Did you do it better or did you do it worse? So the kind of the challenge is between you and yourself, all right? So that's the same thing I had in my head, where I would, let's say, risk and try to get into a party and I get rejected. In my head, well, it was fun trying to find out. In my head, I was like, it's a whole story I can repeat in myself and
Uh,
laugh about it. And this is where sometimes I could do things that my friends don't even know about. But the fact that I can joke around it with myself is where I find the entertainment sometimes in. It's more of some sort of a reflection.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you say that about giving yourself a story. I remember I was listening to his name is Tony Robbins, and he was talking about how people, you know, have their story, and it's a full story because you just, you know, maybe something bad happened, and you say, "Oh, see, I told you I'm a loser." "Oh, see, I told you I can't get in because nobody likes me," and all that. At such a young age that you had that to me, that's amazing. I know a lot of people or some people do have that, but like I said, I'll be the first to admit I didn't have that. It
No,
was yeah. Go ahead.
because it was compared to like the comparison was like, who were you 2 years ago? All right.
Mm,
What was I 2 years before that? I was some guy living with my parents, just chilling around home every single weekend, doing nothing, playing video games. It was that's the comparison to it. So if my Friday night changes from that to that excitement, well, that's funny to me.
right.
That's the story. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that makes sense. So, and we're talking with Omar Yassin, and today's title or today's topic is the dangers of being a playboy, which we're definitely going to get into. So, Omar, now you're in college, freshman. Am I assuming freshman?
No, I'm actually no,
No, no,
I'm a
not now. But I'm saying when
oh
you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're a freshman, 18, 19, 20 years old. Um, Now you start seeing some of the beautiful women in Arizona, especially the college students. How was that approach like? Were you shy, or you definitely had a inner confidence in you? How was that?
I was definitely very shy, not gonna lie. It
Okay,
was it
it's
was
funny because I
it
don't
was
see it in you.
overwhelming. It was overwhelming. It was it was very challenging there at the beginning. I feel like it just was as if I am an outsider. But
Mm,
the more and more I engage, the more and more I got the interactions, more interactions, more
yeah.
interactions, more interactions. And this is where you built up. But yeah, definitely, it was meeting new girls, seeing this from as an 18-year-old. You're very it's a different world. Plus, I feel like it kind of made me push myself forward to, well, if you try to work harder and get better, you'll eventually be more approachable, be more liked, and so on and so on. I feel like that's just a
Yeah.
natural concept. Yeah.
So how did you overcome your shyness then? You just basically just by interacting more with people or more with
Yeah,
women and you just started feeling more and more comfortable?
I feel like building the sense of humor is the most important thing.
Ah,
So going from a normal questionnaire or interview with a girl, for example, and changing that to some jokes, to some flirting, I feel like this is the ideal way to develop your conversational skills. And that only gets you only are able to manage to do that when you are relaxed and when you are really you don't care what the outcome is. Having the good intention is very important. Well, a lot of people mess up in even in their older age is that when they go up talk to a girl, their intention is just to try to get laid with her. That's just makes your mind feel like it's a very very challenging, really stressful, and oh, it's a big deal. Blah, blah, blah. But if your idea is, hey, I'm going there just to have a conversation with a guy or a girl, you'll feel more relaxed and you feel like I don't care what the outcome is, and it's just gonna move along,
so
and you
how
probably
did you
succeed with that. Yeah.
so no intention of sex, just basically just having a conversation, becoming friendly. I love it, having a sense of humor. So you started developing that. Did you notice then that women started being more attracted to you because you basically didn't give them 100% attention, if that makes sense? You were just being yourself. You were not there to score to get laid, like you said. It's basically just to meet them, and then hey, okay, see, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like having this different vibe that you really don't want to engage too much
Yeah,
was something I did not know was a key factor back then. But from my experience right now, and I can reflect, I'll be like, yeah, I feel like that was a huge indicator from my understanding of how social life is. The
yeah.
less attention you give, or like the more attention you give, the more needy you sound, and this is where desperation arises from.
Wow. So okay, so now you develop, I call it a skill of n- uh not putting the attention in, basically just being friends. Hey, I'm going to be myself and all that. So how, when you started dating, did you started noticing anything different? How the women were treating you, or how you felt about yourself? You gained more confidence. The women saw that in you, that you would gain, that you had the confidence, and now, maybe you have women competing over you. Uh, what was that like?
Yeah, see, I'll be honest with you. It was one factor that I really was new to me was the online dating.
Ah,
Like going
okay.
to Tinder, all these dating apps was completely new to me. So what I used to be like, I used to be a very nice person. Okay, genuinely a nice kid. And I'm not saying I'm a bad person right now, but I always see that the perfect type of person to be is a gentleman. A gentleman is you will treat everybody nicely, woman or a man or wherever, you'll treat them very fairly in a very gentleman way. However, once they disrespect you or once they don't give you the energy that you deserve, this is where you don't take all your benefits away and withdraw all that. And so a nice person is going to be constantly replying, even though he might not be given the same energy back,
Yeah,
or he might be canceled on a few times
yeah,
and still ask again and seek it again. So that was a nice person. That was who I was on dating apps. I messed up a lot on dating apps, not gonna lie. I was very not blunt, but more of uh, there's no mystery at all. It was expecting basic same questions. What's your class? What's your major? What's your are you in? No one wants to hear that. Why? Because it's not engaging. It's not entertaining. So
yeah.
that's something that I had to develop over time is being more mysterious and as I said, treating everyone in a gentleman way. So if you're not really receiving the attention or you're giving, so you try to withdraw the back and seek other person. You don't have
Nice.
to clinch to the same person all the time.
Excuse me. You hit on a few points that, unfortunately, Omar, I learned later in life, in my 50s. Not fawning over someone, giving 100% attention, always becoming available, having boundaries, right? Be a
Absolutely,
gentleman, but
absolutely.
have your boundaries. If you cross it, then you pull back.
You pull back.
And I like that. And also be mysterious, not asking, oh, how's your day? Whatever, just being a little different than the guys out there. So I love that because, again, Omar, I learned that later because I always try to be the nice guy, always try to be a people pleaser. And I'm going to tell you 100% of the time, never worked. It wasn't until I started being myself and telling the woman, this is what I am, accept it or not, then I started seeing a change. I'm like, wow, I wish I was like this 30 years ago. So,
No, I feel like the time changes. To be honest,
yeah,
it's a very developmental stage, especially in this dating life right now. It's even getting harder. In my opinion, I
yeah,
feel like there was a tremendous change in social life before and after COVID. Something happened. I still don't know what happened, but it's changed dramatically. Back then, it was much easier. Right now, in my opinion, I
mm,
just feel like uh, you could, let's say that you could have been a charmful guy 5 years ago or 3 years ago. Everything's
yeah.
fine. You can go to a bar, talk to a girl, get her number. But right now, I feel like it's more about financial status.
I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah,
Have you noticed that? Excuse me. Some of the women that you meet that, and I've seen that too on other podcasts, and excuse me, reading articles of how women are looking for men to make a couple of 100,000, to make 1 million, to make. Have you noticed that the standards of some women have gone up
The standards
after
are
after? Yeah. So talk more about that.
I feel like, yeah, the standards have gone up. I'm not saying most women. I'm not saying
And some
also
of the
all
women,
women
right?
are
Yeah.
that. A lot of variety, like a lot of portion, have been thinking this way, and I feel like it's more about social media induced because you see all these podcasts influencing men to make money and do that and do that, and then actually some men end up making money. So, well, oh, a guy could be in her age, 22-year-old in her age, and he has a very nice car. Obviously, another guy that's just going to college every single day is not her standards anymore. Additionally to that, I feel like a lot of the more social media apps like Instagram or like OnlyFans, and that has been grown so much that a girl that gets attention from a very high standard, let's say a football player or somebody that plays professionally somewhere, for example, or a famous person, a YouTuber, and so on, just because she got attention from a couple of those people, she thinks this is her standard from here on.
Yeah.
And she will never go back to anything below that. But that's not the case here. I feel like these are just exceptionals, and this should not have been your standard moving on from that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know I've seen that too, where some women won't lower their standards and look at like I'll see other podcasts or other or articles where a women, like you said, they meet someone that's like a high standard man in terms of a social status. They have money and they're a little older and they can't date down again. I mean, I even saw a small news article where a woman was saying, "Hey, we're more educated. We want men at our level, and and women don't like to date down."
Yes, yes, sir.
That's what That's what
Yeah,
I've been seeing and hearing.
yeah, and I feel that that's totally acceptable. And I actually encourage men. It's not wrong to be like, "Hey, I want to improve my life." It's
Hundred
actually
percent.
more, it's more beneficial. And I was gonna bring that out in our conversation that I feel like being a player in that age is an addicting, very addicting game. It's like a video game because you're playing the same video game constantly, constantly, constantly. You're
Yeah.
updating your character, all right, thinking that this is who you actually are, all right, a charming person. But in the reality is that you're just wasting your time in things where you should have been putting your time in actually important things, raising your status, and then the whole approach of meeting tons of women is going to be accessible to you. And these are what everybody in these podcasts and articles are encouraging men to do. And I feel that
Yeah.
that's the right way to go and live with your life. Because if you actually continue playing in this sort of video game, you'll be wasting your peak years, which is like your mid-20s, your mid-30s,
Yeah.
all out. And it's some sort of injecting yourself into a rabbit hole. An example of that, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Have you ever seen the TV show Cobra Kai.
Yes, yeah, I love
Absolutely.
that. I love that show. I
It is.
watch it. Yeah,
I love it. But the beginning about it, it's an identical representation of the two scenarios. So you have for your audience who don't know what Cobra Kai is, so it's basically a spin-off of the original Karate Kid
the Karate Kid. Yeah,
movie. Yeah, and they just it was, I think, in the 80s that these movies are, and then the show Cobra Kai came in the late 2000s, and they basically have the exact same characters, the exact same actors as well, but just 30 years in time.
in time.
And
Yeah,
you have the main two characters, the good guy, Daniel LaRusso, the Karate Kid, and he is successful in life. He has a wife, he has a kids, successful business, peak of his life.
yeah.
And then the other character, who was like the bad guy back then, who was a
Johnny
player,
Johnny
and all that.
Lawrence, right?
Johnny
Johnny
Lawrence,
Lawrence.
yes,
Yeah,
Johnny Lawrence. What did he end up becoming? Some Working a slum job. He's miserable in his life. He's still picking up girls from bars. He hates his own life. He feels like he's stuck doing the same thing, drinking every night. And
yeah,
this is where like you can see the diversion that has happened. Daniel LaRusso worked, and once he found a girl that met his standards, she doesn't have to be perfect, and we'll get to that later. She doesn't have to be a perfect girl. She has
yeah.
to be some minimum standards. He clinched that. Check that list out of his life. All right, I met a very nice girl. I'm content with that. I will think of marriage if he's financially stable and so on and so on. Check that list and move to something else in life to work on that. Oh, now it's raising a family. Oh, now it's making a business. Now it's doing this and this and this. Johnny Lawrence, girl at the bar, got laid. Cool, nice. Next week, girl at the bar, got laid, nice, and so on and so on. It's like playing the same thing again. It's a circle.
Yeah,
Never.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's and that's life, right? It mirrors life sometimes. So for you, when you realize that you were in the game, dating and all that, did you feel that you were stuck at the Johnny Lawrence level?
Yes,
Yeah. So
sir.
yeah. So
Yes, sir.
talk more about that.
I feel like, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I blame myself sometimes that I wasted 2 or 3 years into that cycle. And I feel like, yeah, I was part of that player stage of my life, addicted to that video game. All right, addicted to the partying, addicted to going out and meeting new people and having this experience and then that experience and talk to that girl and seeing this other girl. It was fun to me, talk to your friends, all this and that.
Sure, sure.
And then I feel like I would say it's very beneficial for you to just take it out of your system early on. All right.
Okay.
And I feel like this is where at my stage in my life, a couple of years after that, I'm like, okay, I am not that excited anymore. I feel like, hey, I need
Wow.
to check that list off, but maybe I'm not there yet, like financially stable and so on and so on. But I need to be focusing on other things. Otherwise, I'll just be a Johnny Lawrence in the future, because it never ends really. I'll give you another example for that. I feel like being content with the person that you meet is the most important thing that a player misses out. So I feel like one time I really met a very amazing girl, perfect example of an ideal girl. However, I just did not see the perfect qualities in her appearance or in her personality and so on and so on.
Right.
Other than that, met amazing standards in other qualities, sincere, caring, loving, and so on. What I did was, like, that was early on in my college years. I was like, hey, you know what? Once you see more and more college girls, you're like, I think that everybody's gonna be like that, but they might have the good qualities that she had, and then additional qualities that maybe the first one lacked. This is the right era where I wasn't content. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
And I feel like this was the start of that rabbit hole where you try to find somebody that was as good as this in some of these areas, but then you find somebody that has better qualities in some areas, but then they lack these standards, and it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And the idea, as we said earlier, is that you'll never find somebody perfect. This is the whole point that a player misses out overall.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's an issue with whether it's me or anybody else. There isn't a perfect person. It's more about having the chemistry. You guys get along. Sure, she might not be a 10, but she's like a 6 or a 7. Geez, I mean, that's okay. Even if she's a 5, 5.5, she's average. That means she's okay looking. She brings something to the table that you like, that you want to be with. First of all, Omar, these are amazing stories. I could probably talk to you for like another hour, hour and a half. And before I let you go, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to promote? Promoting the college years or
Oh,
anything you want to talk about?
I definitely like would wanna I wanna ask your opinion about what do you think. Like I always had this idea that a player, for example, is not addicted to the concept of having sex. It's not a sexual addiction, but it's more of a an accomplishment addiction. What's your opinion on that? If you wanna,
Yeah, no, I'm definitely more into accomplishments, to finish things that I started. Sure, if a woman's by my side, that'd be great because it's something that I would like to share. But for me, it's always been the accomplishment. If I start something, I want to be able to finish it. Now, if I finish it and I don't like it, that means then it wasn't for me. Okay, I move on to the next thing because there's some entrepreneurial things I started and then I realized maybe halfway through, three-quarters of the way through, that this is not for me. All of a sudden, I found something else. Let's say, like in business, investing. Wow, you know what? I like it. I like to read about it. I like to study about it. I found that this is what I like doing. Being out there and trying to buy properties, which I've done, but I felt investing, working from the computer, from my apartment, my house, whatever, was more fulfilling, if that makes sense. So it's whatever it's fulfilling for you. I There was some women that I went out with, that I let the boundaries get obliterated, because I didn't have standards. I just let it go. It wasn't until that then I realized, okay, you know what? If I lose her, then that's it. So that's something that I felt I accomplished by now pushing back and not being too soft, like we talked about earlier. So again, if that made sense about the dating perspective and the personal
and life
perspective.
perspective as well. No, I
Yeah,
actually that's very nice advice for me as well. Like I really need to hear that constantly. That you need to be trying to fulfill things that you really feel like you should finish.
yeah.
And if you don't feel like that's for you, at least accomplishing it is one thing. Then you'll find out if it was for you or not.
Yeah, and I did that a few times. I wanted to be different things in business or personal jobs, and then I realized, that wasn't for me. So sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh man, I wasted my time. But no, I didn't waste my time. It was something that I had to go through to realize, boom, this is what I want to do. This is it. And it's changed my life because I feel like now this is where I belong, and I look forward to reading or looking at certain TV programs like business program, investing programs, and things like that. And for you, Omar, you're a young man, so now you'll go through those ups and downs, dating and in personal, and then you realize, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. You'll know it in your gut. You'll feel it,
That's
and then it's fun to do because it's not work. If that makes sense, you're
oh,
having fun doing what you want to do.
no, that's definitely changing my perspective on some certain things
Yeah, I
as
mean,
well.
you got to try things, you with the dating, and look, at such an early age, Omar, you had the presence to say, I don't want to be the Playboy anymore, man. I got to focus on certain things, and I think that's a great thing. Omar, talk about your Instagram. If
Oh
someone
yeah,
wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
absolutely. I'm always reachable on Instagram. I would love to chat with anybody that has any questions about dating stuff, about social experiences, about any advice. Even as an international student, I really would love
Yeah,
to give advice about what you should be focusing on and taking this more of an opportunity. Your college years are going to be an opportunity you might not get later in life, but that doesn't mean you have to throw it all away in one bucket. You know,
yeah.
there is, but yeah, I would love to talk more about this with anybody that has any questions. So I'm reachable on Instagram. I think you mentioned you're gonna.
Yeah, I'll put
Uh,
that in the show notes this way people can
yes.
find you. Yeah, I'll definitely
Yeah,
attach that.
that's definitely my anyone's where to go if they want to reach out for me.
All right, sounds good. Well, Omar, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm jealous that you're in Arizona, probably 80 degrees right now. What? It's about 10:30 over there, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, here it's, I don't want to talk about my temperature here. It's probably like 40 right now. So,
I mean,
but anyway, Omar, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really appreciate it.
I really love this conversation with you, William. It's been very, very exciting, and I'm really glad that we had to do that.
Oh, definitely. I'll definitely have you back on. Maybe you're now a junior or a senior?
I'm a senior right now. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll talk to you again in a couple of months, after you graduate and see how that goes. Sounds
Absolutely,
good to me. Yeah. Well, Omar,
absolutely.
again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You have a
All right.
wonderful day.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.